Hello and welcome. Tonight, Christians worldwide mark Good Friday, symbolizing the crucifixion of Christ on the cross of Calvary. President Bola Tinubu in his Easter message assures Nigerians that his administration remains committed to restoring peace and security across the country. It's a Black Good Friday for residents of Ukum and Logo local governments in Benue State as gunmen invade their communities, killing at least 17 persons just days after a similar attack in Otukpo left 11 persons dead. And US President Donald Trump says the US will take a pause on brokering further Russia-Ukraine war talks if Moscow or Kiev makes it very difficult to reach a peace deal.
On business news tonight, International Monetary Fund says Nigeria is still facing significant uncertainty in its economic outlook despite wide range of reforms carried out by the federal government.
On sports news tonight, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola insists Champions League qualification is the focus at the end of a challenging season ahead of tomorrow's Premier League tie at Everton.
And from the nation's capital, I wanted outright removal of Fubara. That's coming from the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike, as he throws his weight behind President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State.
Today is Good Friday, a day observed in solemnity by Christians across the globe, as it marks events leading up to the crucifixion and miraculous resurrection of Christ on Easter Sunday. In Christendom, the period is known and referred to as Holy Week, and from the foundation of the faith, Good Friday has been the core of the Christian message. Our first report tonight takes a look at the celebration in some major cities of the world.
This is St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican City, as thousands attended the Chrism Mass for Monday, Thursday. Footage shows Cardinal Domenico Calcagnon leading the Mass as some 40 bishops, 40 cardinals, and 1,800 priests co-celebrated the event.
E anche essi ti offrono questo sacrificio di lode.
But conspicuously absent is Pope Francis.
Come si sente prima di tutto?
The 88-year-old pontiff was hospitalized in February due to bronchitis, which later progressed to double pneumonia and kidney failure. Given his medical history, including a previous lung surgery, his condition required close monitoring. The streets of Moscow received an Easter makeover this week, with flowers and decorations seen in the Russian capital ahead of the Orthodox holiday and Good Friday celebrations. Here, flower arches and installations, wooden chickens and Easter eggs dot areas near Christ the Savior Cathedral and the metro station in the city center. In Gaza, Good Friday was not celebrated as a series of Israeli strikes killed at least 37 Palestinians in a tented area for the displaced.
Back home and in the spirit of Good Friday at the St. Dominic Catholic Church in Lagos, worshippers gathered to observe the Stations of the Cross. The solemn procession retraced the final steps of Jesus as worshippers also reflected on his sacrifice in a powerful display of devotion and faith.
On this solemn Good Friday, Catholics of the St. Dominic Catholic Church in Yaba gathered to commemorate one of the most sacred traditions of the Christian faith, the Stations of the Cross. Just days before Easter Sunday, the most important celebration in Christianity, Good Friday marks the crucifixion and death of Jesus Christ. It is a day of mourning, reflection, and prayer observed by millions across the globe.
Are you not one of them? One of who? You're one
Part of Good Friday is the Stations of the Cross, a 14-step devotion that takes worshippers on a symbolic pilgrimage through the final hours of Jesus' life on earth. From his condemnation to his burial, each station recalls a specific moment in Christ's passion.
We have Fridays and we have Good Friday. It is really called Good Friday because on this day Christ died for us, for the sake of mankind, to liberate us from sin and death. It's about his life, his passion. So this is what we are experiencing, to know what exactly we may not get it exactly as he did, but for us to experience it, what he passed through to save us.
In Catholic tradition, Good Friday is unique. It is one of the only days in the liturgical year when no Mass is celebrated. Church bells remain silent and the Eucharist is not consecrated.
It reminds me that, there are some things I'm not supposed to do. By doing that, if I commit sin, it means I'm wounding Jesus the more.
From the drama that at least we were able to portray different points at least on this journey, and just to recall, because with distractions everywhere, sometimes we tend to forget, but at least to see it displayed again for us. It's meant to just draw us back and reflect on it, basically.
As Catholics reflect on Christ's suffering and death, the message of Good Friday is a call to humility, faith, and the hope of resurrection that Easter Sunday brings.
More on Good Friday. The Primate of the Anglican Church, Archbishop Henry Ndukuba, is urging Nigerian leaders and citizens to imbibe the virtues of service and love for one another, as demonstrated by Jesus when he was on earth. Speaking after the presentation of a short film on the Passion of Christ to commemorate the Easter celebration, Father Ndukuba, who counseled Nigerian leaders to serve the interest of those who elected them to office, also asked citizens to demonstrate love for their neighbors by being their brother's keeper.
The Passion of Christ is the focus of this gathering as Christian faithfuls converged at the Anglican Church in Abuja to observe the Good Friday. Stressing the need for selfless service, the Primate of the Anglican Communion of Nigeria believes Nigeria can be better if political leaders embrace leadership founded on sacrifice.
We can see that this is the purpose of God in his life, as we see from even the prophecy of Isaiah in Isaiah 53. He was cut down in his prime. Who will declare what the future will be? We are seeing sacrifice. We are seeing love. We are seeing obedience to the Father. We are seeing commitment. This is what we are asking that our leaders should learn from the Lord Jesus Christ. This love that is so sacrificial and willing to do anything to improve the lot of the people.
Put yourself back to your place. The message of sacrifice resonates in Yola, the capital of Adamawa State, as the Catholic Bishop of Yola Diocese called on all Christians to emulate the death of Christ by making sacrifices to fellow Nigerians, irrespective of religion or tribe.
The message to all Christians on this important day, on Good Friday, is that we should imitate the sacrificial example of our Lord Jesus Christ. For the sake of our brothers and for the sake of our sisters, we should be prepared to deny ourselves good in order that our brothers and sisters can be happy. And especially in our country, Nigeria, especially as we experience difficult challenges, especially in terms of security, I call on all citizens of this country that we should love our country, we should value our country, we should cherish our country. Anything that will bring insecurity and disintegration in our country, we should try by all means to make sure that we place our country before any other anything else.
As Christians observe Good Friday across the nation, Nigerians are optimistic that the message of sacrifice will be imbibed by all and sundry.
The president has extended warm Easter greetings to Christians across Nigeria and the world, urging reflection on the values of sacrifice, hope, and renewal that define the season. In a heartfelt message, President Bola Tinubu acknowledged recent tragedies and security challenges in parts of the country, assuring Nigerians that his administration is fully committed to restoring peace. He emphasized that the fight against insecurity is gaining ground with clear directives issued to security agencies for swift and decisive action. In the words of the president, quote, "With the unwavering courage and commitment of our gallant men and women in uniform, we are making steady progress in reclaiming peace and stability," end quote. President Bola Tinubu also recognized the economic hardship many are facing, promising continued efforts to stabilize the economy, restore investor confidence, and build a more inclusive future for all Nigerians. And the Inspector General of Police appears to be taking a cue from the President on the security of lives and property during this festive period. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, says the IGP, Mr. Kayode Egbetukun, has directed all commissioners of police and their supervising AIGs to heighten security measures nationwide. This includes increased visibility policing, enhanced vigilance, and proactive intelligence gathering to ensure a safe and secure Easter celebration. Strategic deployment of personnel is also ordered for places of worship, recreation centers, major highways, and public spaces to deter crime and ensure rapid response to any security threats. The police wants the public to cooperate by providing timely and credible information while urging citizens to remain security conscious and drive responsibly during the festive period. Now to some rather disturbing news from Benue. It was a Black Friday for residents of Okum and Logo local government areas following the death of 17 persons by gunmen suspected to be herdsmen. The police public relations officer for Benue State, Sewese Anene, who confirmed the attack, explained in a press statement that information was received that a large number of suspected militia had invaded Sankera axis of the state, and the police moved in to engage the militia in Bagir, where they had killed 5 persons. According to him, while the Bagir operation was ongoing, a group of militia equally engaged the neighboring Logo local government area and killed 12 persons. Meanwhile, Governor Hyacinth Alia has condemned the killings in Ukum and Logo local government areas of the state. Addressing journalists after a Good Friday Mass at the Holy Ghost Parish in Makodi, Governor Alia cautioned against communities resorting to self-help, assuring them that the state government is working with the Office of the National Security Advisor to develop a plan to end the killings by invaders who are not known to the region.
In Ukum local government, there were a number of attacks. Some houses were burnt down. We lost 5 lives. But the moment we got wind of the information, we had to invite our security heads, who now drafted their people immediately to secure the spaces. So this is what befell us at us last night. Again, what the people keep telling us, the escaped victims keep telling us, is the fact that there are quite a number of people who understand Hausa, and some even speak Fulani. The phases of attack we're having, it's not a very normal one. The Hausa, it's one kind of Hausa. It's not the regular normal Hausa we all know in Nigeria, including their Fulani. What they speak is kind of a strange Fulani from what we know, which is very indicative of the fact that we're having typically invaders who are coming in. And then with the new face of what we are facing now, they don't come with cows. They are not coming with herds. they just come in fully armed to the teeth to fight. It is a Black Friday instead of the Good Friday for those families and for those of us in the States. So I wouldn't invite anyone to take laws into your hands. Let's be law-abiding still. The states, the major stakeholders, our traditional rulers, and the federal government and us have a program that we are charting. So should there arise any need for the youth group or any group of people at all to get to the streets themselves or to go to the front lines that they're fighting the invaders, that is not brave enough. That is not smart thinking.
In part two, after the break, 1 month after his suspension from office, small groups call for the reinstatement of Governor Siminalayi Fubara in Rivers State. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Christians worldwide mark Good Friday, symbolizing the crucifixion of Christ on the cross of Calvary. President Bola Tinubu in his Easter message assures Nigerians that his administration remains committed to restoring peace and security across the country. It's a Black Good Friday for residents of Ukum and Logo local governments in Benue State as gunmen invade their communities, killing at least 17 persons just days after a similar attack in Otukpo left 11 people dead. And U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. will take a pass on brokering further Russia-Ukraine war talks if Moscow or Kiev make it very difficult to reach a peace deal. We're in Rivers State now, 1 month after President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency there and appointed a sole administrator to oversee the affairs of the state. More voices are rising in condemnation of that pronouncement. Former labor and trade union leaders, alongside concerned citizens at different fora in Port Harcourt, are insisting on the immediate reinstatement of the suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara.
Each passing day unveils new twists in the unfolding political drama in Rivers State. Lately, the narrative has shifted from media arguments over the legality of the emergency rule to street protests, with women taking center stage. Off the streets, women have remained outspoken, with this group known as the Simplified Queens amplifying the call for a swift return to democratic governance in Rivers State.
We earnestly appeal to President Tinubu to reconsider and reverse the suspension of Governor Fubara, recognizing that the current situation in Rivers State does not warrant the continuation of emergency rules.
Elsewhere, former labor and trade union leaders also echoed the similar sentiment for the reinstatement of suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara, describing the appointment of a sole administrator as a coup against democracy.
Our strongest opinion on the former labor leaders in Rivers State to call on the organized labor, the NLC, the TUC, at the state and national level, to actively join hands with the well-being Nigerians, civil societies, organized civil societies, and other good people of Rivers State to bring to an immediate end this disastrous, undemocratic precedent that are being unleashed in our dear state.
Amidst the criticisms, the sole administrator is receiving commendation from some quarters for efforts in reportedly calming the political tensions in the state. The latest to applaud his efforts is the House of Representatives Committee on Public Assets during a courtesy visit to the government house in Port Harcourt.
We want to implore you to continue to give your best to secure those assets. The state economy is the lifeblood of the country. And I believe that if this state is peaceful and secure, Nigeria will be a better place.
In the past few weeks, my administration has prioritized the stabilization of the state security environment and the peaceful resolution of the political conflict that are threatened to erode public trust and economic progress. Through consultations, peace building, engagement, and coordination with security agencies, we have taken deliberate steps to restore normalcy and strengthen the fabric of unity in Rivers State. As we look to the future, the success of our administration's mandate will largely depend on sustained collaboration.
Despite the commendations, calls for the restoration of democratic governance in Rivers State continue to grow, especially as elected officials and statutory commission officers remain suspended.
All right, now let's head to the nation's capital, where Victoria Lonjon is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Victoria.
Many thanks, Ayo. We continue here with the emergency rule on Rivers State, as the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has expressed total support for President Bola Tinubu's declaration. Speaking at a media parley in Abuja, Mr. Wike said he preferred the outright removal of the suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara. President Tinubu had last month declared a state of emergency in the state, citing escalating political instability and recent security threats, including pipeline explosions. Our correspondent Benue reports.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is holding a media charge in Abuja, addressing issues on FCT governance and development in Rivers State.
It's in trouble, where people don't want peace. No!
Journalists, officials and stakeholders are on ground to hear the minister's views on FCT administration and national politics.
You want us back? Have I done it? Yes.
On the PDP crisis and the 2027 elections, Wike is voicing concern over the party's disunity and lack of focus. And when asked if he thinks the PDP is ready for the 2027 elections, this is what he had to say.
They are not ready. It's very obvious. You see, I have told you, look, I have an examination. I'm going to class to read. Indeed, am I reading? Am I studying? Yeah, you don't need to deceive anybody that you're not reading. You're only trying to let people know that you have carried their bag to class. So I've seen my colleagues in the going to prep. Let me go out. You reach there. You're doing nothing. Then you say, but I want to study now. You know yourself. So people cannot say for sure. And I have said, it's not a question of whether you like me. It's not about whether you like. You don't need, like I've said this. You don't need to like me. What I'm saying, is it correct? What I'm saying, is it what will help the party? All this struggle, power struggle, cannot help us.
He also addressed the political tension in Rivers State.
I wanted outright removal of the governor. As a politician, I'm not happy. But for the interest of the state, the president did the right thing.
As a lawyer?
No, I'm coming. Rather, the matter is in court. But people must say the truth. The governor was gone. He was gone. Yes, he was gone. So when people say, President did this, I say, look, if that's where they should be worshiping, they should be worshiping Mr. President. Every morning go to the President, can we wash your feet for serving us?
On land and infrastructure in Abuja, Wike is revoking allocations in Maitama over unpaid fees and terminating inactive contracts.
Government has allocated Maitama 2 years ago. It is now, I said, we have to develop infrastructure here. You apply that you want land. And government's okay, follow the process. And within 21 days, you've not paid 300,000 naira to have their papers. For Christ's sake. For Christ's sake. I mean, we like to do things, we don't like to follow procedure. Supreme Court has come to say, look, every land belongs to the FC. Therefore, there's nothing like area council land. And we don't want to go by saying we have cancelled all the allocation. We are magnating what is okay. Let's regularize, after you can have your sea of war. What is the wrong thing that we have done?
He's using the media charts to explain policies, promote accountability, and outline efforts to boost security, infrastructure, and urban development. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has declared that more than 60% of residents in the nation's capital are now in the ruling party. Mr. Ganduje, who formally received the chairman of the Abuja Municipal Area Council, Christopher Mekelengu, his councillors, thousands of PDP supporters and Labour Party members across the 6 area councils of the territory into the APC at a rally held at the Old Parade Ground in Abuja, says the Federal Capital Territory is too important to be left in the hands of opposition parties.
The elders of FCT, the youth wing of FCT, the women wing of FCT, they all came to our office. They said, since Mr. President has appointed an indigent as the Minister of the Federal Development of Nigeria, and the many other political appointments, they said we should give them, we should permit them. We should permit them so that all the area councils in FCT and the senator of FCT, House of Representatives in FCT, all of them will be from APC political party. We have started seeing how FCT will be converted democratically to APC.
Now, still ahead on the news at 10, International Monetary Fund says Nigeria is still facing significant uncertainty in its economic outlook, despite a wide range of reforms carried out by the federal government. That's some business news to join us again. News at 10. Welcome back to the News at 10. The spirit of Easter celebration has been felt even at the motor parks in the nation's capital, as the parks witnessed a high turnout of persons traveling to see and celebrate with loved ones. A visit to the motor parks by our crew reveals that despite the combined effect of fuel subsidy removal, economic hardship amongst others, residents appear excited as they prepare to travel. Some of the travelers are calling on the government to find a lasting solution to the plight of high cost of transportation during festive periods, as they are left with no choice while considering a road trip. It is a beehive of activities as passengers throng the Utako Motor Park in Abuja ahead of their trips. The arrival of cars and buses into the popular motor park excites the large number of persons waiting to board the vehicles. For this traveler, the high cost of transportation has aborted her dream to celebrate the Easter with her loved ones who live outside Abuja. Other travelers believe the high turnout in the park is not a testimony of a fair price, but their determination to celebrate the Easter with their loved ones.
They told us that box, they won't collect 8,000. So we are here since. Later they come bring another small motor, say 10,000. But now we are moving out to go to Zuba now. If you were come down I can discover that everything was there okay with us.
It's not about what the administration is doing. People have to travel, most definitely, to spend time with their loved ones. I personally am traveling because it's been a while. I saw my dad, and this is the opportunity I get because of the public holiday, right? So it's not about what the administration is doing. It's for the need to be in one place during this festive period.
Some travelers highlight measures the government can take to improve the situation.
Government actually needs to do quite a lot of things. Number one, there has to be task force. Number two, there has to be maybe a kind of incentives given to the transporters so that this fare can come down. And when it comes down, it makes it a lot easier for commuters to be able to move here and there.
At a different motor park, it is a case of different strokes for different folks, as these vehicles, headed to the far north, are devoid of the usual crowd. The travelers lament the low turnout of passengers as they advocate for government intervention.
I don't think people are traveling like that because there is scarcity of people in the park entirely. Even I went to the bus side, it's very scarce. Like people, they are not getting passengers like before because of the high cost. Now, let's say transportation of like 18,000 something before is now 30,000 for Siena to Ibadan. So people are considering, like, instead of them traveling, you see people sending messages to their home village instead of traveling.
Public holidays provide an opportunity for people to travel and visit family members. But the economic situation appears to be affecting the celebration mood this year. And that's it from the nation's capital. It's now back to Ayo for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you so much, Victoria. An initiative which aims to build bridges in Ogoni, River State, is here as the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project HYPREP launches a civic education and constructive engagement campaign. Project coordinator, Professor Nenibarini Zabe, announced the effort at a forum with Ogoni youth in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, explaining that it is designed to foster peaceful dialogue and sustainable development in the region. Our correspondent, Deborah Agbelama, reports.
It's the first Ogoni Stakeholders Youth Meeting of 2025 with the management of the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP. This forum, a regular quarterly event, serves as a crucial platform for direct engagement between HYPREP leadership and the young people of Ogoni. Leading the discussions, Project Coordinator Professor Nenibarini Zabe provides key updates on the critical shoreline remediation project. He announces that work is now 39.4% complete, with a significant 937,000 litres of oily sludge already removed from Ogoni soil.
The mangrove restoration project has reached 86% completion rate. Monitoring of the planted mangrove reeds is progressing well. We have initiated a practical framework for long-term monitoring to ensure the project's objectives are met.
The youth participants actively engages with the project leadership, using the opportunity to seek specific clarifications on the status of ongoing remediation and livelihood projects. Project coordinator Professor Nenibarini Zabe directly addresses their questions.
What's coming up, making up that delay for the few segments of the livelihood trainees?
You talked about allocation of livelihood slots. In all our projects, we ensure that the host community contributes or benefit more. So in terms of nominating community workers, they nominate about 70%.
Beyond project updates and timelines, the meeting also featured inspiring pep talks aimed at shaping character and strengthening community values.
What's Ogoni history? First, we're very blessed people. We cannot overemphasize that. We can't say it too much. We're too blessed. We're blessed with human resources. We're blessed with a good location. We're blessed with mineral resources. We're blessed with good land, good soil, basically. And then The history says that we were never conquered. We were one of the ethnic groups that were never conquered.
As remediation and restoration efforts continue across Ogoni land, HIPREP's management is reinforcing the need for consistent community engagement. These ongoing interactions, they say, are vital to ensuring transparency, accountability, and long-term impact. Deborah Abalama, Channels Television News.
Business News is up next with Dominic Iwiwu.
Thank you, Ayotunde. On business news, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, says Nigeria is still facing significant uncertainty in its economic outlook despite carrying out a wide range of reforms. This follows the conclusion of its 2025 Article 4 consultations with Nigeria during the week by the IMF's team led by its mission chief for Nigeria. The IMF team explained that although government has taken important steps to stabilize the economy, elevated global risk sentiment and lower oil prices would impact the Nigerian economy. They recommended that macroeconomic policies need to further strengthen buffers and resilience, reduce inflation, and support private sector-led growth to navigate the external environment. Nigeria trade surplus jumped by 107.5% month-on-month to $2.2 billion in January this year. This is according to the central bank's latest monthly economic report. The amount, which is higher than the $1.06 billion surplus recorded in December last year, is attributed to the increased values in both exports and imports. The Central Bank of Nigeria report highlights that earnings from crude oil and gas exports played a significant role in the country's trade as it increased from $3.62 billion to $4.80 billion in January, driven by a combination of rising crude oil prices as well as an increase in domestic crude oil production. Following the crash of the digital investment platform CBEX, the director of the Institute of Capital Market Studies, Nasarawa State University, KEFI, and president of the Capital Markets Academics of Nigeria, Professor Uchenwa Uwaleke, is advising potential investors to understand some parameters involved in investment. Speaking on our Business Morning program, Professor Uwaleke warns Nigerians to be wary of investments promising more than 30% return.
Where you have an economy where, for example, the average return on investment is not more than 20% per annum, okay? And you now find an investment that is promising you 30% every month, 40% every month. Of course, you should that should raise your antenna, okay? If you look at, even if you take 30% per annum, that translates to 2.5%, in a month. Okay, assuming you even have any such investment, and of course I can't think of any, right now. So when you now have one that is saying you get 30% on a monthly basis, or more than that, that should make you cautious.
Nigeria's stock market and many other major global bourses are closed today in observance of Good Friday, but some Asian stock markets were open for trading. Let's see some of the closing numbers. On business news, back to Ayotene for the rest of the news at 10.
Still to come on the news at 10, U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. will take a pass on brokering further Russia-Ukraine war talks if Moscow or Kiev make it very difficult to reach a peace deal. Join us again. Welcome back. U.S. Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen says Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man wrongly deported and detained in the notorious Secot mega prison in El Salvador by the United States, has been moved to another prison in the country. Here's Simon Hughes with more international news in Around the World in 5 from our London studios.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has warned the US will abandon trying to broker a Russia-Ukraine peace deal within days unless there are clear signs a truce can be reached. Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 and has placed a number of conditions on any potential ceasefire. Despite the Trump administration's initial confidence that it could secure a deal quickly, attempts to reach a full ceasefire have yet to materialize, with Washington blaming both sides.
I think it's important to remind everybody that the Ukraine war is a terrible thing, but it's not our war. We didn't start it. The United States has been helping Ukraine over the last 3 years, and we want it to end. But it's not our war. I want everyone to understand that. And the reason why I make that point is the president has spent 87 days at the highest level of his government repeatedly taking efforts to bring this war to an end. We are now reaching a point where we need to decide and determine whether this is even possible or not, which is why we're engaging both sides. As you know, Ambassador Witkoff has had not one, not two, but 3 meetings with Vladimir Putin to determine the Russian perspective on this and understand what it would take for them to end it. We've, General Kellogg, myself, and others have had repeated engagements with the Ukrainians. So we came here yesterday to sort of begin to talk about more specific outlines of what it might take to end the war, to try to figure out very soon, and I'm talking about a matter of days, not a matter of weeks, whether or not this is a war that can be ended.
I hope to meet with representatives of the government. I hope to have the chance to actually see Kilmar and see what his condition is.
A US senator has met a man who Trump administration officials have acknowledged was deported in error from Maryland to a mega prison in El Salvador. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen posted photos of his meeting with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, whom the administration has refused to return to the US despite an order from a federal judge. After the meeting, which appeared to take place in a hotel, El Salvador's president Nayib Bukele said the detainee would remain in the country's custody. The White House has accused Mr. Abrego Garcia of being a member of the transnational Salvadorian gang MS-13, a designated foreign terrorist organization, which his lawyer denies. US airstrikes on a key oil terminal on Yemen's Red Sea coast, controlled by the Houthi movement, have killed at least 58 people and wounded 126 others. The Houthi-led government that runs northwestern Yemen said the terminal was a civilian facility and that the attack constituted a fully fledged war crime. It was one of the deadliest incidents since President Donald Trump ordered US forces to intensify their bombing campaign last month in response to Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping and Israel linked to the Gaza war.
The government of Canada to actually duplicate the
leaders of Canada's 4 major federal parties have squared off in their second and final debate ahead of this month's general election. But it was someone off stage who stole much of the spotlight: US President Donald Trump. A big question heading into the 2-hour forum was whether Liberal leader Mark Carney, who has been leading in the polls, would stumble. Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England, managed to survive Wednesday's French debate despite being less proficient in the country's second language. It's been announced a British couple are among the 4 people killed in a cable car crash near Naples in Italy. The mountain cable car cabin plunged to the ground after one of the cables supporting it snapped on Thursday. The cable car operator said it had passed a safety inspection just 2 weeks ago, and a criminal investigation has now been opened. The UK Foreign Office said it was in touch with local authorities, but has not confirmed the identities of the victims. And this is the moment Jamaica's sprint icon Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price completely demolished other parents in a race at her son's school sports day. The 3-time Olympic champion, who is the 3rd fastest woman in history, competed against other parents at her son's school. She also praised her son for coming first in his race and called him her champion. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. And more stories from the world of sports. Flamingos head coach Bankole Lowokere is promising that his players will aspire to win big at their FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup qualifying round first leg encounter against Algeria this Saturday in order to reduce the pressure ahead of the return leg in North Africa. Saturday's encounter comes up at the Remo Stars Stadium in Ikenne, Ogun State, where the manager says he will unleash the trio of Harmony Chidi, Shakirat Moshood and Aishat and Nima Shau on the Algerians in order to achieve his objective. The return leg is scheduled for the Mustafa Shaka Stadium on Friday, April 25. To club football now, where Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says being forced to watch the Champions League later stages from his room instead of the touchline is providing some motivation to qualify for the competition next season. City find themselves embroiled in a battle to secure a top 5 finish in the Premier League that would secure Champions League football for a 15th consecutive season. The defending champions are 5th with 6 games to go, but only 1 spot ahead of Chelsea and Aston Villa. Erling Haaland, John Stones, Nathan Ake and Ederson remain sidelined for City's trip to Everton this Saturday. In Spain, Barcelona boss Hansi Flick has demanded to meet with La Liga officials over what he's described as an unfair schedule. The Barca's La Liga game at Real Valladolid on May 3rd will kick off at 9 p.m. after being moved from an afternoon start on May 4. That rescheduling still gives them less than 3 days to prepare for the pivotal Champions League semi-final return leg at Inter Milan on May 6. But the manager says the situation facing his team before a huge European match has left him speechless. The German was speaking just before Barcelona play host to Celta Vigo this Saturday with the chance to extend their lead at the top of the table. And that's sports. I'm Kelly Agigas. Back to you today.
Thanks, Kelly. And the main news again. Christians worldwide have been marking Good Friday, a day which symbolized the crucifixion of Christ on the cross of Calvary. At the Vatican, the Pope's delegate Cardinal Claudio Guglielmotti presided over the solemn liturgy of the Lord's Passion.
Passio Domini nostri Iesu Christi, secundum Ioannem. Siterus exaltavit et inclinato capite, tradidit spiritum.
Gesù non è stato semplicemente arrestato, ma ha offerto la sua vita.
And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a good night.